beware of blasphemers. Touch not my anointed, and do my prophets no harm. What have you been hearing about others without confirmation? Don't just sit somewhere and hear this or that about others and come to a hasty conclusion. We live in a world where lies, deceit, and falsehood reign. Watch out for fabricated lies coming from the lips of these and others. As you watch, find out the truth and let the truth set you free.
Many have spread fabricated, blasphemous lies about the Synagogue Church of All Nations and TB Joshua, some of whom went as far as to package and produce these lies in various forms of media, DVDs, CDs, and audio cassettes, for distribution locally in Nigeria and worldwide, all for the sake of money. This is one such man who has come to the Synagogue Church of All Nations to confess his acts of blasphemy. In his own case, he chose to use audio cassettes to propagate his lies.
Please, can you play his cases?
When Joshua the synagogue leader is to start his church, he came to his father. And a pregnant woman of 8 months, their brother planted him within the church. Special passport and permanent passport. Special passport and permanent passport. Abẹ́ a máa jẹ́jẹ́ abẹ́ sí ní ìkọjú ìdí tọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀ gba ká ń fẹ́ dúró síbẹ̀ nìyẹn ṣùgbọ́n tó o bá lè wá sírú bí agbára Ọlọ́run yóò sọ ọdún òmìnira.
Ṣé ohun ẹ̀ la ń gbọ́n bẹ̀ yẹn?
Ohun mi ni.
Ṣé wọ́n ló ṣe késẹ́ẹ̀tì yẹn?
Èmi ló ṣe.
Òótọ́ ló ní odi aláboyún mọ́lẹ̀ síbí.
Ohun tó ṣẹlẹ̀ ni pé ńgbà tí ìjọ yìí wọ́n máa ń dí wa lọ́wọ́ lọ́jọ́ kí n sọ bẹ́ẹ̀.
Ní ọ̀nà wo?
Àwọn tí wọ́n bá ti dè níṣẹ́ náà máa ń tú wọn. Torí mi náà sì wà nínú ẹgbẹ́ òkùnkùn. Orúkọ mi ni Mukaila Bello. Mo ń jẹ́wọ́ ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ yìí lónìí torí pé gbogbo tí mo ti ṣe kìí ṣe èmi nìkan. Gbogbo tí mo ti ṣe mò ń jẹ́wọ́ ẹ̀ torí tí wọ́n bá ní kí àwọn kan máa mú òkúta ọ̀rọ̀ mi ó yẹ kí wọ́n pa mí kí n tó kò ń bí ni. Mi ò yẹ lẹ́ni tó yẹ kó wà láàyè rárá bí mo ti ń sọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀. Iṣẹ́ ògùn sí ni mò ń ṣe. Ṣùgbọ́n ńgbà tí àwọn tí wọ́n bá tí àwọn bá ti di oyún mọ́ nínú tí wọ́n bá ti tú tí àwọn bá ti wá síbí wọ́n á tú wọn sílẹ̀ a wá rò pé kò sí oúnjẹ fún wa mọ́ kò sọ́nà tí mo gbà ń rí owó mọ́ mo sì á rí pé ebi náà bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí pa mí lóbi pé ṣe mo lọ fi àkọ́bí mi mo lọ fi dìpọ́sìtì búrẹ́dì ẹnìkan bá mi pé àwọn ọ̀nà kan wà táwa bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí bá ọkùnrin yẹn jẹ́ kiri tí wọ́n pè ní sinagogu yẹn pé àwọn èèyàn tí wọ́n bá wà níbẹ̀ wọ́n máa wá sọ́dọ̀ wa a dẹ̀ máa ṣe iṣẹ́ fún wọn èyí tí a máa fún gba owó lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ irọ́ sì ni ipa ìgbẹ́ tàbí mímàlúù ni mo máa ń fún àwọn èèyàn tí wọ́n á pè lóògùn tí wọ́n á sì máa jẹ́ ẹlòmíràn wà tí bá ń tọ̀ lé màá tọ̀ sínú ibì kan màá fi nǹkan sí màá ní pé kó gbé mu á gbé ìtọ̀ mi mu. Mo wà nínú ẹgbẹ́ òkùnkùn tó ẹgbẹ́ tí mo wà nínú ẹ̀ tó bí 17.
Synagogue buried pregnant woman for long. You people have been carried that rumor. This is the source. Kí ló mú ẹ lọ sọrúkọ bẹ́ẹ̀?
Ohun tí ó mú mi lọ sọ ni wípé wọ́n ti ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn tí à ń ṣe ògùn fún wọn wá sọ́dọ̀ wa mọ́ ẹbí ni wọ́n wá tán tí ń gba ìtúsílẹ̀.
Confessing that he had lied, saying that he buried an 8-month pregnant woman in the Synagogue Church of All Nations, this man, Mukaila Bello, is the source of this rumor. The rumor that reached the headlines of this newspaper and many others. Pregnant woman buried alive in a popular church in Ikoton Egbe. Later, Mr. Mukaila shed more light on his blasphemous acts that had led him and so many others astray, all because of money.
Orúkọ mi ni tí a mọ̀ mí sí ni Alhaji Mukaila Bello. Mo máa ń sọ fún aráyé kiri pé èmi ni mo rí aboyún mọ́lẹ̀ pé èmi mo rí aboyún mọ́lẹ̀ nínú ìjọ yìí o. Kò kí ń ṣe pé mo rí èèyàn mọ́lẹ̀ nínú ìjọ sínágọ́gù. Èmi ló ń sọ fún aráyé pé mo rí èèyàn mọ́lẹ̀ nítorí ohun tí ọ̀nà láti wá owó fúnra mi. Pé nígbà tí èèyàn bá gbọ́ pé mo rí èèyàn mọ́lẹ̀ pé èèyàn á kàn sákò nínú ìjọ yẹn. Àti pé nínú ẹgbẹ́ òkùnkùn tí mo sọ pé mo wọ̀ nígbà yẹn lọ́hùn àwọn ọmọ kan kóra ìjọ tán sọ fún wa pé inú ìjọ yẹn pé káàdì pé a mú gẹ́gẹ́ bí iṣẹ́ pé inú ìjọ tí àwọn ń lọ pé ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn ọmọ ìjọ àwọn ni wọ́n ń kó wọ́n lọ sínú ìjọ tán pè ní sínágọ́gù yìí pé nígbà bá bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí bàyẹ̀ bẹ̀ pé àwọn èèyàn àtúká bẹ́ẹ̀ dẹ̀ ni àrí ẹ̀ mọ́lẹ̀ a kàn fi ń ba Joshua Tèmítọ́pẹ́ lórúkọ jẹ́ kiri ni.
He claimed that the Synagogue Church of All Nations began when TB Joshua went to visit his father, and he gave him different charms from which he acquired his powers. One such power was to keep the members in the congregation. He explained that the reason for spreading these lies was to tarnish the name of the Synagogue Church of All Nations and TB Joshua, because as a witch doctor, many people whom he had put in bondage were now set free. Many people whom would formerly come to him for solutions and charms were now going to the Synagogue Church of All Nations for divine deliverance. He thought that by spreading these lies, members of the Synagogue Church of All Nations would abandon the church. Instead of his situation to improve, the opposite happened. These blasphemous acts led his poverty to increase, reaching the dire situation where he used his only son as a deposit to buy bread. Take note of the fact that on the audio cassette you can hear the voices of the people in the background shouting. This shows that he was spreading these lies to a vast number of people, even on the crusade ground. He is not the only person. There are many who have been doing this to destroy TB Joshua and the Synagogue Church of All Nations, all because of money. The false DVD of this woman, Bisala, was also bought in one of these churches and was circulating within Nigeria and beyond, all because of money. This is a woman who tried using different means to spread a web of lies and deceit concerning the Synagogue Church of All Nations. This DVD is one of the mediums in which she narrates a fabricated tale of how she said she came to the Synagogue Church of All Nations.
Sometime 14 years ago, close to 14 years ago, I came to the Synagogue Church. At this time, my family just recovered from a fire outbreak in our home. And at that particular time, it's like we needed God and we needed help, actually. My father's friend introduced him to the synagogue church, mainly because of my father's malignant sickness. He came and invited some of his children, and many of them turned down the invitation. Unfortunately, I would say for me, I came with him.
You have heard the story that Bisala gave after she had turned her back on the Synagogue Church of All Nations. Now you are about to watch actual footage from the Synagogue Church of All Nations archives of how Bisala truly came to the Synagogue Church of All Nations. Let us go back to the time, many years ago, when in a hopeless state she revealed what had really brought her to the Synagogue Church of All Nations.